I'm Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about, can I rebuild attraction? Well, attraction is kind of like a fluid connection with somebody, right? Like you can feel a stronger attraction to somebody and it can go up and it can go down. And a lot of things are going to affect that. Life can affect it. Their behavior is often a huge component of attraction. Other people in your life that you might be interested, that can also impact attraction. In my experience, the biggest thing that has an influence on attraction is our behavior. Okay? And it's really our attachment issues that are going to impact the natural ability to stay attractive in a connection. Anxious people, avoidant people, disorganized people, they often do a lot of behavior that turns people off because it hurts the connection, right? If you're anxious and you're smothering your partner and then they just are feeling like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming me, I feel trapped, that's going to hurt attraction. Just like if you're avoidant and you're distant and people are constantly wondering about you and they don't feel cared about. In fact, my stepbrother has just gone through that recently, where the girl he was dating was extremely avoidant. And he constantly kept feeling like she just didn't care at all. And so he got fed up and couldn't take it anymore. So it's really about our attachment issues and being able to navigate in a healthy way that creates attraction. This is why I tell you guys that when you really like somebody, when you're really attached to them, your attachment issues are going to come up. So if you don't do the work, you may do fine with all the people that you don't really care about, but when you get attached to somebody, that's when you're going to start making mistakes quickly. Okay? You've got to do that work. I can't stress it enough. Because many of you guys are just so focused on where your ex is at and what they're doing, you don't focus on you and how to grow in that time, in that space. It's critical, okay? And that's why we're always talking about mental health and attachment, because it's really the root of that. And the healthier you get, the more attractive you're naturally going to be, and the less likely you're going to be to turn people off. The people that you like the most, those are the people that you really want to stay confident around, okay? All right, so I have an email coaching today from a couple in their early 40s, okay? She started off by saying, thank you for providing the opportunity of your coaching, and I deeply miss Margaret. Well, we all miss Margaret, and I'm still in shock, honestly. And it's been tough, as you can imagine, for so many reasons. She was like family to me, and everything that she brought to the channel, and when we would talk to her, we loved talking to her. She was always so incredibly kind and supportive, and so it's had a big impact on us, as you can imagine. And you know, it's just nice to know that we have a legacy of over 500 videos with her for you guys. It's incredible, right? Because there was a time it didn't even look like it was going to happen. Before she even joined the channel, she had a stroke, and it led her not being able to come on that channel, postponed it for, I think, probably close to a year. So I'm just happy that we have that. And you guys, I know sometimes it's a little bit tough watching videos with her, but she would want you to watch it and take the information and use it to help you in your life. That's why she put it out. So look at it that way, okay? So back to the coaching. She said, my ex and I met at a mutual friend's house in 2016. I love my job, and he does his dutifully, but not more than needed. When we met, I was at the lowest point in my life. I was broke, single, alone, and lived with my mother. My relationship of 9 years had ended, and I was in search of love and connection. He was recently divorced. His wife and his 2 sons had left overnight, and he was also desperate. So one might say he had a rebound relationship, or we had a rebound relationship. So that's kind of shocking. The wife disappears with the 2 kids overnight. I'd want to know what happened there, and I'd be looking very closely that he's not just telling you his side of the story, which is likely to do, right? I'd want to know what's his connection like with his kids now. How is his relationship with his sons? Because if you were a great dad, they're going to know that, and they're going to want a connection with you. But maybe he wasn't a great dad. Something to think about, right? We dated for more than a year, and I moved into his house in 2018. His eldest son moved in with us. The younger one stayed with his mother. His ex wants him back even today, after betraying him and being bitchy. She acts quite manipulative. So that's telling. The son wanted to come with them. The younger one wanted to stay with mom. Don't know their ages, but a lot of times young kids want to be with their mother, right? And it is interesting that the ex still wants him back even after all this time. But you wonder what would make her leave like that. In the middle of the night taking the sons, that's pretty horrible. We were working on rebuilding our lives together. I got a better job. We both were parenting his son and shared the good and bad stuff together. He did not want to marry again, but I still do. And he will not have more kids. I wanted my own children, which I may be too old for. Okay, so it would be tough to say if that's a deal breaker or not based on her age. She's in her early 40s. I don't know if she can even have kids. There may still be some options for you in that area, but it's something you could explore. I worked my way through this sadness and sort of gave in because I really loved him and the life we had. Things started to change when my mother got cancer in 2021. I was with her in the hospital every other day as the hospital was far away from where I live. So that's tough, okay? And both my mom and my dad had cancer. And, you know, watching what they both went through was very difficult, especially my mom, because of the type of cancer she had. So you can imagine she wants to be there for her mom, and who wouldn't want to? But that would impact a connection and a relationship. Even the most solid relationship, right? Meanwhile, my ex built his barn over the summer with his mom. He was unhappy that I didn't spend more time with them, but understand the situation seemingly. One would hope so, right? You know, your mom has cancer, you're going to see her in the hospital. I started wanting sex hardly ever, and he felt rejected terribly from me. He shouted at me various times, told me I should see a doctor as things were not okay with me, and his judgment made me feel even worse. Okay, so that's not going to make somebody want to be intimate with you, right? Shouting at her is not the way to go about it. Saying there's something wrong with you, go to a doctor. She could be depressed, right? Saying how you feel would be more appropriate than being judgmental, which is what she's saying. He left me out of his plans, stopped kissing me, hugging me, or cuddling me months ago. He saw initiating sex now as only my part. Well, it's both your part, okay? And it sounds kind of immature that he's holding on to this grudge that you didn't want to be intimate with him for a while. And so now he's like, well, now it's all your fault. Now you have to do it. It's not on me. Yeah, but it doesn't work like that. Especially the reason for why, right? You're dealing with a mom who's sick. It's stressful. You know, it puts a weight on you. You're thinking about it all the time. You don't feel as free to be connected with your partner. A month ago, I seduced him in the barn. For me, it was really nice, but he just didn't get the feeling when we had sex. He loves wild sex, but I am often not in the mood for that. Okay, so that can be tricky when you're with a partner who enjoys sex differently or has different fantasies or desires. Navigating that and negotiating that can be tough sometimes, right? 2 weeks ago, he broke up with me. I told him that I wanted to work on our issues, but he seems to want me only as a backup. Is there somebody else in the picture? Is he more interested in other options? Interesting, right? So I got up from my chair, no begging, no pleading, and started searching for a new home. I was brief and casual with him ever since and left the house 2 days later. Good for her. She handled that like a champ, you gotta admit. That's pretty awesome. Didn't panic, didn't beg, didn't plead. She's better than I would have done. All right. I always thought you have to talk about it. Let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about it. Doesn't work like that in a breakup. This week he messaged me, thanking me for the grown-up way we handled the breakup, assured me I was a good person, and asked if I was doing okay so far. Starting to wonder, because you left him alone, you went no contact. I replied that I was okay, and would get back to him regarding when I would pick up my stuff. Good. Good, you're handling this very well. Better than most. Can I ever rebuild attraction after I rejected him so often and basically trained him away from me? Trained him away from me? I don't think English may be her first language here. Have I ruined my relationship altogether, or do you see a chance of getting back together? How can I change a situation in my case? How do I go on from here? Well, I don't think this is all your fault. I don't know how often you rejected him, the frequency or in the way that you did it, but it certainly seems kind of exaggerated for him to end this relationship, especially because you were going through a tough time with your mom, right? Like, you would think a partner would have more leniency than to act like a petulant child, like, oh, this is all on you now to fix it. That's not what adults do, right? Adults talk about it. They talk about how they feel. And maybe he could say something like, I would appreciate it if you reciprocated, more often, or even put like a number to it. Like, out of every 3 times, you initiate 2 of those times. So it makes me feel like you actually do want to be intimate with me. Something more reasonable. I just get the feeling he was kind of selfish in the way that he handled this and immature about it. So I think, if he was more reasonable and he understood you were going through a tough time and, maybe depressed because of your mom, that he would say, you know what, it was just this period of time of our relationship. And now that I look at the whole thing, yeah, I can see our whole relationship, the intimacy was good except for this point. So it's not all on you. And I think he could have handled this better. So if he comes back, and obviously I would let him do the reaching out, I would say to him, I was going through a tough time, and if you were going through a tough time, I would have been more understanding. So I think we have to have more of an understanding that sex shouldn't be this top priority that you're ready to walk away from our relationship over. I want to feel like you care about me, not like you're bullying me into this or making me feel horrible about it. It's on him to do a better job of communicating. And I think I would kind of gently say that, not necessarily up front, spend a little time with him. But if he wants to really repair this, I think you have to let him understand that this is on him to communicate that connection in a healthier way. And also that, people have different preferences in their intimacy, and that you got to find a way that it works for both of you. Not somebody doing something they're uncomfortable with, because that's just not enjoyable. And he should want it to be enjoyable for you, and you should want it to be enjoyable for him. So you got to find something that's more of a compromise here. And, if somebody really loves you and cares about you, then sex obviously shouldn't be this much of a priority that they're going to be this kind of angry and lashing out over things. You don't want to be with somebody if they're going to walk away just because the sex isn't quite going the way they wanted. Obviously you want to do your best to make your partner happy and vice versa, but communication is important, and doing it in a way that is helping facilitate a connection and growth, and not lashing out and losing emotional self-control or shutting down like he kind of did here. Of course, I'm not trying to put it all on him. It's on both of you. But I'd leave him alone, and I wouldn't chase him. I would make him work to get you back. I want to see some ownership of issues he did here and mistakes he made, and so you can kind of rebuild this together and make it more about a meaningful connection, and then the sex will be a little bit more natural between the two of you. All right, so hopefully this has been helpful to you. Remember, behavior is extremely attractive. Okay, I can't stress that enough. The more you become emotionally secure within yourself and have worked through your attachment issues, the more likely you're going to exhibit confident behavior in situations like this when they come up. So hopefully you found this one helpful. If you want to get my help personally, you can do it on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.